One. All right, here we go. Del, welcome to the Lens of Yashu.
Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.
It's great. It's great. I just loved your project so far. Songs about her, like that's like the first project that I kind of like gravitated to, which was like very like well-rounded and like very like produced well in a sense, you know. So yeah.
I feel you. Well, I'm not even sure where to start with that one. To be honest, like the dream to do music has been there for a while, and that was really the first attempt I felt like I had at making not even just. I didn't want to make a body of work that I felt was too ambitious at the time, but I also didn't want to do something that I felt was also too easy. And I felt like that EP was the middle ground that helped me. Uh, I was able to try different things, go into a few new sounds I hadn't done before, and explore the pop rap lane just to see how well I could do that. So that's really what that experience was. And thankfully, a few of those tracks got, well, at least for where I am right now, a little bit of traction. And then I could see what I could do well, what I could improve on. So it was a good first step in that sense, I would say.
Yeah, that's dope. And just seeing your previous performance like years ago at the Academy, like at the Drake Hotel, it's
Mm-hmm.
kind of like how I gravitated to you with your music as well too, with the live band, with
Yes.
everything going on too. Like that's how I also like caught into you too. So yeah, and gained an interest in a way, you know.
No, I feel you. And thank you for even noticing. Like, I feel like that live band aspect, a lot of people don't, just at least in hip hop, not enough people do that. And I wish they would, because it's so much different. Different isn't even the word. It's, I guess, better in a sense when you're able to bring your album or your EP or your project to life with live backing. So you're able to just do stuff and change on the fly. It just feels a little different. I feel like the audience appreciates that a little more, in my opinion.
It's dope. It's dope. So I just want to start off with the first question. So you were born in Nigeria and you grew up in like East and West Africa.
Yes.
So like, what was like the environment like for you growing up as well as your childhood? Would you say that it was like a good experience growing up in different parts of Africa, or
Oh
like
yeah,
would it be different?
fantastic. Like I was born in Lagos, Nigeria. Um, I was there until I was around 7 or 8, and then I moved to an island called Mauritius because my dad was working for Coca-Cola. So you know, they moved him there, and then we just ended up all of us shipping off together. After the fact, I spent 3 years there, and then I moved to Nairobi, Kenya. I lived there for a little while. I was in boarding school. Then I moved to Tanzania, and I was living there, but I was still in the same boarding school in Kenya. So what would happen is for school, I would be in the same place in Kenya, but like the long holidays, summer holidays, Christmas, all this and all that, I would come back to Tanzania for a little bit. There for a few years, and then I moved to Canada, Mississauga in 2011. Yeah, June or July of 2011. Yeah, and I've been here ever since. And it was a great experience. Honestly, it's like very, and I like coming to Canada for the sense of one of the, obviously it was a culture shock in some ways, but one of the things that was a little similar was being around a lot of different people, because that was the one main connecting thread through all the places I lived, just being around different cultures all the time, and different languages, different food, all that kind of stuff coming together. So yeah, that's what I'd say about that.
It's dope. Because like I'm Ethiopian, so kind of like knowing about like that whole like East African route, it was like
Mhm.
pretty like interesting in a way too. Because to me, like I was like born here in Canada, but like I never really got to experience like a full on like African culture, like like embedded into Africa. So like for me, I had to learn it from like different roots and within different cases, like from family, from music, from the food and everything like that too. Whereas for you, you find you usually got like that whole experience being born there and actually living in like various countries too, and then once you move to Canada, it's like a whole to like different transition in a sense, all right,
Absolutely. I'm with you.
all right, so do you feel that like with African culture and like the media presence, so like
Yes.
Afro beats, Nollywood, do you feel like it was much more prevalent in reaching worldwide like back then as previous to like what it is like right now?
Oh, absolutely. Like I feel like there's it's night and day in terms of the difference. Um, it's a little tough to say because again, like I was in Nigeria, I was in Kenya, Tanzania, like most of my formative years. So even then, I could see the influence of a lot of, well, African culture was still prevalent there within the continent, but I could also see the reach of a lot of Nigerian media, just in general, no matter where I was really. Uh, if people, I don't know if people are going to recognize, but there's actually a channel that was called Africa Magic on one of the platforms, DSTV, and Nollywood just completely took over. It was, like from the jump, I feel like Nigeria really had a very good imprint on what was going on in the culture in that sense. But as far as worldwide, now with the advent of Netflix, this, that, and the third, it just seems as if it's just a whole new phenomena. Even when it comes to Afrobeats, I don't think there's a culture. Not culture. I don't think there's an award for Afrobeat yet in Grammys, or like wider recognition of the genre in that sense. But I can tell you, being there, coming here, and seeing what the growth has been from when I was young to now, it really has become something that I'm not sure a lot of people would have predicted back when we had artists like P Squared and people of that era making music and being, the mainstream focus at the time. So.
No doubt. And when you moved to Toronto, when you moved to Canada, you moved to Mississauga in 2011, and you did explain about the transition for a bit on learning like a different culture, like learning different cultures and everything else too. But like within the transition from moving to like the previous country that you lived in to Canada and adapting to Western culture, do you feel that like it has like impacted you like in a sense too with the culture, the attitudes, and much more?
Yeah. Oh no, absolutely. I feel like one of the things I learned the most about Western culture, really. Actually, I'm trying to think of what was the most impactful thing. The schooling was definitely different. It was the first time I was in a school with as many people, so that was definitely interesting. The food was a little bit different, which I don't know how big that is for some people, but for me, it took a little bit of getting used to. Not in a bad way, it just is what it was, and the people as well. Like I want to put some of these stories in songs. So I won't go into crazy detail with them, but the first, and it was really strange because I'm not someone who's very much into alcohol, drugs, and this kind of stuff. I think not even that I'm judging, it just not really ever been my thing like that. But there was the first day I went to school in Mississauga. I was in Father Michael Gates, and it turned out that the kid that I was sat next to was a dealer, which I thought was hilarious. But at the time, I was like, "What? You actually like you're the one that moves the? Oh, okay, cool." And then that was a whole interesting conversation and this and that. Very nice guy, but then that was like, I wasn't really exposed to that stuff that much from before, so it was just interesting to be in a place where this was more of a norm, and all this and all that. I think it did definitely impact the music as far as like it's just a whole different realm of experience. So before I might have been talking about stuff to do with, it would have been mainly African experiences as far as just what my life was. But it didn't even take too long until I was in Canada, until I was like, oh, wow, okay, I'm seeing this, I'm learning that, I'm talking to this person, I have access to this, I can go here. And then even a lot of the music I listened to, I could relate to a lot more because I was like, this is what they say when they mean this, as far as like Western music. So I think that's the way I would explain that.
Yeah, I think like even like with that whole like dealer story too, like it could like relate to like anyone as well, like if they've never experienced it before. Like, with me, like when I started like grade 9, like which is like a lot of years ago and all that too, I was never exposed to a lot of the stuff I've seen. So like even like walking in the halls too, you would smell like weed like everywhere you go, and like to someone who never like really smoked weed like back then,
Right.
it was interesting in a sense too, because you realize that this is like a whole different experience for you. You start out like very young, knowing like what the world was like in your view, and then when you realize this is like a different form of reality, like it hits you like that as well. So yeah. Yeah.
I definitely feel you on that.
Yeah. So in terms of like your musical background and history, like what was it like, and what made you decide on wanting to become a rapper and musician?
Um, okay, so I grew up in musical theater. Actually, well, and I feel like I even have that on some bios or like online in some places. But even before that, I always loved, like I liked every class. Actually, I think it's fair for me to say I just really like school in general. But I remember when I was in Mauritius specifically, that was the first time that I was in music class and I was like aware of what was going on. I was like like choir was in, and I'm just listening to, okay, there's this part and this part and this part. That's interesting. And these are the words. How do they create this melody? And then they gave us like a lot of percussive instruments to when we had some shows or some presentations for like the rest of the school. And even then I was clued into like, I wonder how they put all this together. Like it would be interesting if we added this and did this. And I wasn't taking part in it like that. It wasn't as if I was creating so much, but my mind was already working as far as just trying to imagine and redefine what's possible, not in a crazy way, but just like in a little sense. That's when it really started for me. So by the time I went to Kenya and the chance to get into musical theater came, no one had to ask me twice. I jumped into it. I was trying to be in every production that I could be. Thankfully, I was able to make every show and then play some role, and the roles got bigger over time. And again, this is another story I've never really told until now, but like in grade 6, there's this play called, what's it called? Joseph and the Technicolor Coat. And in it, I played the Pharaoh, and the character is very Elvis-like. Well, I should say very Chuck Berry-like, but that's neither here nor there. And then, so that was my first instance really getting to play a musical character to play a character in a musical that really got to show off a lot of personality, and I could feel it. Like I felt for the first time that I was on stage, like alive in the greatest sense, like to the point where even though it's been so many years, like I still think about that when I look back on my days in Kenya and this and that. So obviously I had that experience. Then I went to school in Turi, same thing. I was in musicals and theater, plays, this, that, and third. And then we actually got to perform in Nairobi as well and take some of our shows on the road, like in the city. So then that was a new experience as well, being like, oh, this was just a school production. But from the reception we got from a lot of the audience, from the parents, other kids, we were like, we can take this down to, we can sell this. Like, this is a product. And so that was even another thing in my mind where I was like, look at the level we're at now. Fun fact, I actually was in that play. I went to school with Lupita Nyong'o's brother. And he was actually in that same play with me. He played a different character, but again, I'll tell the full story for that another time when we have more time. But again, like all these experiences came together, and through the time, I'm just forming in my head what like some musical ideas are, why things are the way they are, just narrative structure. At the time, I was forming an interest in writing as well. So you can imagine everything just building and building and building until I came to Canada. And the chance to actually record started to come up because I got my first microphone on the side after school. I would come back home every day. I would write just for practice. I didn't even really have a goal like that, but I just loved getting better in that sense. And then I don't remember what year it was, but there was a year I was just like, you know what, let me make an EP, and that was as simple as that. And I gave myself a summer to do it, and then I did it. And it never really, like I put it on SoundCloud. This was before Songs About Her. It was, I think it was called Glen Road or something like that, after the road I live on here. And it was a nice experience again in terms of being able to build around a concept, write a couple of different song ideas, and see how well can I do this? Am I the guy that I think I am? Am I as creative? Can I just bring these ideas together? Can I actually rap? Can I sing? Can I, and that was really much what that was. So I saw some things that I really enjoyed. Some stuff gained traction, allowed me to do some other songs with some other producers, and it just kept stacking until, we got to Songs About Her. And that's where I feel like you found the first few songs you found. And that was that.
Yeah, no, it's a very interesting journey too, from you doing all these plays to actually being in a production with Lupita Nyong'o's brother and all that. Like it did bring a sense of creating that background and creating that style that you are. And I think with live performances, like any in general too, it does help like when you build like a character, or when you build like an alter ego or a presence towards like a certain brand, because not only will it be impactful like just theater wise, but it could also like work well with the music too. Like when you plan on like making a song, like when you plan on making a certain character like on a track too, and it does like it actually like the story like tends to like develop well, like as like that character progresses and as that like character grows as well too. So I definitely agree. So what artists or genres are you mainly like influenced by, and in the future, like who would you like to work someday?
Okay, mainly influenced by. I really like one of the things, another inspiration that got me into music was I was a very big fan of a lot of artists who got big on SoundCloud. This is before the term SoundCloud rapper ever came up. This is when, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the artist Tom Misch. He's an English guitarist, instrumentalist. He makes a lot of soul music. Really,
I Yeah, I think I know about Tom Misch. He worked with like Goldlink and
yes,
a lot
yes,
of other like acts too. So
in that kind of sound, that kind of realm. When he was before he was even making music, when he was just making beats, that's when I had an interest in SoundCloud. So I came from that era of listening, and I wasn't making music at the time, but I was just like, this is just some incredible stuff. So I got to know him. I actually heard Gold Link's first. I think his first project. It was oh, I can't remember what it was called, but it had like masks on it and stuff. I didn't even know he was like a US rapper. I just saw the thing. I was like, oh, that's a cool cover. I listened to it. I was like, this is ridiculous. And then I got into him. I got into this DJ called No Sleep from the States as well. Just like a lot of people who ended up either getting real traction later or even Kitronada. Like I was just into them from that time. So that was the stuff that I loved the most. And then I guess the first mainstream guy that really gripped my attention in a very different way was probably, I mean, outside of acts like Drake and them and Kendrick, I would say Anderson .Paak. To this day, I heard his initial stuff and I was like, this is from when he was Breezy Lovejoy, and I was like, this is it for me. I just love this. I love this feel. I love this sound, this whole presence. Obviously, he went on to do what he's done. I actually got to see him live in Toronto at Echo Beach. And before that, and this isn't answering the question, but it's a little bit of a deviation, but I feel like this is important. When I saw Anderson .Paak live, before that show, I actually thought I had in my head, I knew live performance was important, and I had a conception of what that was and what level I could take it to. But when I saw him live, it took where I was and the bar I had for live performance in my head from here to here. After that, I was like, because when I saw him, I thought to myself, this guy can't be a human being doing this. That was actually my legitimate feeling. I actually stopped taking part in the concert. I looked left, I looked right. I was like, this guy has actually managed to bring together people from all walks of life. There's a guy in a suit that looks like he just left Bay Street. There's a girl who looks like she's a punk rock type of girl with the aesthetic. I was with my girlfriend at the time. Man, I was just completely blown away. So again, all that put together in terms of the influences and stuff like that, that's what really informed what I wanted to do musically. Because I feel like a lot of people, when they tell the story or ask this question, they're like, oh, I heard, or I came up with a lot of X music from, say, rap, this, that, and the third, or I came up with a lot of, or I grew up with musical people. And it wasn't really ever that for me. I never even started really listening to hip hop until I was like 13, 14. It was mostly like through games like FIFA and this, like a lot of those soundtracks, where it was like a lot of indie records, pop records, some rap records, rock records. That whole amalgamation of stuff is really what informed my formative musical influence, if you want to call it that. So I don't know. I feel like I've gone all over the place with this answer, but I feel like that SoundCloud era was really what shaped what I'm trying to do now, where it's not just like one specific sound, where I don't even really look at myself as just a rapper. Like I like to rap a lot, but I also really like to sing. Sometimes I'm trying to do both, sometimes in a Drake way, sometimes in an indie way, just trying to like see what is possible, what can I really do and what speaks to me, and that's really where my motivation is, I would say.
yeah, no doubt, no doubt. I could definitely like relate on that whole like concert experience too, because I used to go to concerts like crazy until I got into like photography, and I only went to concerts like one by one. So I know like this one experience I had like when I went to this R&B singers concert, like Alina like Baraz. I noticed that it's a whole like different vibe than like what you've ever noticed, because and even like with Charlotte Day Wilson too, I went to her concert. I've noticed that they bring like a lot of people from all walks of life, like young, old, businessmen, young, college girls and all that type of stuff too. And you realize like how age and like the presence can be different too. Like you really don't see it in like a lot of other concerts and events too. Like with rap concerts, it could be like second to none, like with the fan base that they have. Even like with certain other shows, like with young like pop artists too, because with young pop artists, like they'll bring like maybe like teenage college fans, whereas someone who could make music universally, like Anderson .Paak too, like they could, and like Alina Baraz, Charlotte Day Wilson, they could bring people from like all like walks of life, and that's how it is. Like manifestation and like just the unity and like music together too, where it's just only one purpose, not like the aesthetic of like an artist or like what the artist actually is. So yeah.
I feel you.
Yeah. So, in terms of, making music, like what would your creative process like, and what would like a day in recording music be like for you?
Hmm. These days, actually, I feel like it's not really changed that much, even from when I first started. Uh, well, in some ways it hasn't. In some ways it really has. In the way it hasn't, what I really pride myself on is my writing ability. As far as I can write quickly and I can say what I'm trying to say, the way I'm trying to say it. Uh, I feel like anyone I've ever worked with would probably tell you that story. Like, if you were to give me a beat now and I felt it, I could probably get you. I could get you two verses. Well, it depends. I could get a full song out if the feeling is really there in less than 30, 45 minutes. It doesn't take that long to refine it. And then I'm like, that's 80, 90% of what it's going to be. And maybe I make some tweaks, but then I'm comfortable with what it is. But then these days, for the last maybe 2 years, I've been trying to slow that down a lot. And like, there's no, for me, speed, people, there was a time people really were into the whole speed concept of, oh, you're writing so fast, you're freestyling, you don't have to. But then there was a point I was like, wait. That's all well and good. And if you're like people like Jay-Z, of course you can use that to market. But the most important thing isn't writing quickly. The most important thing is writing a good song. How did we forget this? And it's not as if I was ever like not paying attention to that or whatever it was. But the last 2 years especially, I've slowed down to be like, maybe I have the verse and I've done it in like a short period of time. But now I'll sit with it and be like, did I say what I wanted to say on this? Did I sing it the way I wanted to? Does the melody convey the right emotion? Is this, and I question myself in that kind of way. So obviously with the songs about her project, that was a lot of the feeling where even the song Heatwave, that song took me the longest time to write out of the whole project. And it's, I don't know if people usually would expect that because it's very easy listening, it's very pop rap, but it's not the easiest thing to get that feel off. Like I wrote the first verse, I remember, and I was like, that's not it. I wrote it again, I'm like, that's not it. Wrote it again, I'm like, okay, this half works. And then I put the next, okay, I was like, okay, I'm starting to get what it is together. And then I had the hook, and my cousin from the UK was actually over at the time. So then I was like, oh wow, his voice would actually go crazy on the intro. So that's him speaking on there. And then I got my brother to do some stuff, and then so I'm pulling it together as I'm like, what would I like to hear from like a Toronto summer track? And then that's really what the feeling is. As far as new tracks, it's very similar in that I'm hearing beats and I'm like, okay, this is good. How can I make this? I'm not even trying to make good songs anymore, or just that in and of itself. It's more so, how can I make a good song that speaks to who I am, what I stand for, and what I represent? How can I do that most effectively? So even with the song that I have that's coming out right now, maybe we can get to that later, but that's one of the things I'm very proud of in the next records I have that I want to release. So that's what my mentality is as far as the creative process and recording and stuff.
And speaking, even about your projects, like songs about her and Dale presents like a sunset special. Tell me about like what inspired you to make those projects and like the creative process for making both those projects as well.
Sure. Songs about her is actually inspired by, in part, like I like to get in my inspiration from not just life, but I'm a very, very big music fan, obviously, but I'm a very big movies fan. I like cinema from all eras. There's this movie called Say Anything with the actor John Cusack. That movie inspired a lot of this record, I would say. I was trying to get a feel that was a little more retro and very and more poppy than I had done before. At least that's what I felt at the moment. That's what was speaking to me. So obviously you can feel that with a lot of the summery type of vibes. It's very like light pads. The rapping is very melodic. That was really that's the sound I was trying to go for, and that's the inspiration and what the feeling was behind it. But on top of that, I also wanted to make something that was about women, and not the way that I heard before. I just wanted to talk about relationships in the way that I felt like spoke a little more to my experience and what I had seen. And so what my experience, what I had seen, and what I thought made sense for what it is to be in a relationship. So obviously with the track Remind You, that has a lot of feeling behind it as far as you don't seem to remember how we met. Do I need to remind you? Do I need to? And then I feel like a lot of people can relate to that because it's most relationships tend to be like that, guy to girl or girl to guy. You know, you've been in a situation and then for whatever reason it switches up and you're like, how did this happen? You know? So for example, that was one of the motivations. Or the track called Stop, where you see someone and you're so taken aback and that's really what goes in your head. Like, let me just get a little bit of time to connect, That's what that is. Built for Two, where you're trying to separate, it's not, you don't want the whole crowd attention. You're just trying to get some personal time with this lady or this guy over here. That's what that feeling is. And 16, which is just nostalgia and taking it back to all those things were like at a younger age in high school when it was a lot simpler than it is now. Or there was a lot different motivation when it came to relationships and this and that. So that was really the mentality when it came to that project. And as far as the Sunset Special, I wanted to make something very short that captured, summer's my favorite season. So I'm always trying to capture summer in some kind of way. So that year I was trying to capture summer in 3 songs. And I was like, how can I do this the best way? So we have the track Karma with my man Ojo, who's also Nigerian. We have the track, what was the other track? You and I, which is still one of my favorites. And then we had the Heatwave remix with the Three Monkeys producers from, I believe they're from France. And again, it was a small project, so I wasn't really trying to like get a lot behind it in the way I did for songs about her. But I felt like I was able to get that feeling across in terms of every song punched and hit in a specific way. And so, yeah, that tends to be the motivation when it comes to songs, EPs, projects.
You also mentioned in the previous question that you had like a song that you wanted to talk about. So tell me more about that song that you're working on at the moment.
Yes. Well, this is the first time world premiere. Okay. So this song is called OSAP, OSAP.
All right.
The reason I made this song, what inspired it? I came up a very, very, very big J. Cole fan. Not from his albums, which are good, but from his mixtapes. I mean, everyone, I don't know if people know about the Come Up very much. It was very freestyle, New York, gritty, that had that type of feel to me. And I liked it, but it didn't grab it. I didn't hit me as much as when I heard the warm up. And then I heard Friday Night Lights. I was like, this is something very, very, this is special. This guy is the one. That gave me that feeling. There's a track on his mixtape, The Warm Up, called Dollar and a Dream 2. And that, to this day, is a top 3 J. Cole song for me. He personifies student loans as a woman and talks about his difficulty in their relationship and how he's just using her as far as like using the loan to get what he wants. And one day he's going to pay her back, this, that, and the third. And obviously the content is good, but the drums, the beat, the cadence, everything about that song just hit me like a truck straight away to this day. So this track, OSAP, similar, it's about student loans. I don't quite personify OSAP as a person in the same way, but I feel like I hit the nail on the head with what a lot of people might feel as far as student loan anxiety. You know, you're trying to get your life started, but then you have this weight behind you, but then you have to take this weight on in order for you to get the qualification, to get the job. But, you know, it's just like a lot of back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So this track delves into that. And, well, I recorded it a while back, but it's definitely something that I'm excited to get off. And hopefully I have a lot of plans for it. I don't want to get into those until they happen, so I don't like jinx anything, but we're going to see how we can do things for that. Because this year I'm trying to come with a whole different energy and show people some things that I haven't done before. So that's what I'd say about that.
No doubt. And for the viewers out there, like watching, would you describe like when the release date for OSAP would be, or is it like released like right now at the moment?
Oh, no. It's coming. It's gonna. I can't put a definitive date on that, but I'm gonna try and get it out before summer. I'll say that. Yeah.
All right, sounds good. Just to talk about, you know, your posts on TikTok, because whenever I'm on IG lately, I see your posts, you know, usually about your TikTok creations and doing like duets with other like musicians, like, and you like spit like a verse or you spit like a whole 16. So, and when you make this good content out there, is it more like within the transitioning of TikTok? So like, so tell me more about like, you know, transitioning to TikTok for a bit, and what are your thoughts on like the platform like in general?
I love it. I think TikTok is the future, and maybe people will. I don't know how they'll take it when I say that. Maybe they feel away, maybe they won't. The reason I say it is because I think TikTok reminds me a lot of early Instagram. because I really remember those days. I remember when Instagram first came out, and there were people who were like, "You have an app, and all you put on there is pictures. Like, what's the point of that?" Like the early days. I didn't have it until like a while after that, but then that's what people were saying. And then they obviously no one could have seen what it's become now, but it was something new. It was something different. It was a little bit disruptive, and then people always feel a way about that. I feel like TikTok is the exact same, and when I see it, and it's the ability for creators to grow on there and really do what they want to create their own ecosystem. I really feel like people who aren't on there maximizing and taking advantage of that are missing a ridiculous opportunity. I mean, even now it's a little late to get in the game compared to like obviously when it first started, but TikTok could change your life in the sense of like, if you create well on it, you can create a platform there. You can take those fans, those followers, those supporters to any other platform. You can create a fan base that can follow you wherever you go and create that loyal following that makes and breaks careers, and that's well, that's not even really my mentality, but that's obviously, well, in a sense it is, but that's what I see. And then I love it because I'm able to create what I want to do, and it's fun. Like, it's very much, I'm here, I hear this song or this guy doing this guitar riff, I hear this guy making a beat, and I'm like, I have a verse for that. I can put it down, I can record it. It takes me no real time. Or I hear something and I'm like, oh, I have a skit idea for this, and I can do some comedic things that I don't get to do other places. That's also cool. Or or even just watching things and I'm like, oh, that's just interesting. I never knew that about either music or acting or business. I feel like I can learn so quickly in real time with the least amount of time commitment that's ever been required. Obviously, because of how short the videos are and how much you can just keep skipping and whatever. So that's definitely what I'd say about it. Yeah, I hope to be there for a while. I'm gonna keep making stuff. I'm gonna try to drop at least once a day for foreseeable future. That's pretty much it.
No, no doubt. And it's interesting that with TikTok, it actually can create like careers for others, like in a sense too. I think not only like TikTok actually changes the perspective of seeing great videos, but it also changes like lives in a sense for the regular day person, or like the regular day worker. Like, when you notice people who don't have really like any high expectations of being famous, like you could have Junebug, who does like the Junebug challenge like every single time, and then Dogface, who got famous, just skateboarding and drinking like his cranberry juice, to like Addison Rae and like Charlie and like Dixie D'Amelio, just a typical like middle class family living in Connecticut, just making dance videos, and now they're living in like a very big mansion. Like, I could say like it does change lives for many people too, because in some cases too it's unexpected too, like with the TikToks and other like creative content out there too, and especially for musicians too that never really had a chance of fame too. Like, if you look at like artists like Trevor Daniel, who's been in like the underground scene for like a while, like he was only big in the underground too until Falling became like a top 25 hit or like a top 20 hit, and then he's now working with people like Selena Gomez and like Lil Mosey and Summer Walker too. So I could definitely say that it does like change lives for a bit too, as well as like the perspective on creating good content out there as well.
Absolutely.
So I know that since like Valentine's like Day is like coming up too, like would you say that it's like your favorite holiday like at the moment?
I'm not. No. Oh, actually, okay. I don't mean to even laugh about it. It's funny because man, Valentine's Day, relationships, and this and that. I like some things about Valentine's Day, but I'm not going to front. I'm definitely in the wheelhouse of, I think it's more so a commercial activity than it is anything romantic. I even feel to the point of like, oh, you have to do something on Valentine's Day for your significant other. That's not even show that you care, but just to show that, oh, it's like more of it's a cultural event more than it is like me actually showing how I feel about you. I'm not gonna take it as far as like every day should be Valentine's Day and every day, I show you that I care. It's not even that. It's just, just I feel like there's more business interest than it is a feeling thing. But then that's just my perception of it. But even for me to say that, again, there's some things that I do like. I think if it can work out, that you make the time and everything else, you can definitely make it a special moment with you and your significant other, and that's always nice. And you can always make memories that you remember in that sense. But yeah, I feel like it's one of those things. I wish people thought about it a little more, or at least had the conversation in the mainstream that, hold on, why are we doing this? We need to do this better. I don't know.
And I know that it's like kind of like different, like, you know, since it's the pandemic and everything like that too. But even if you were to try, like, even if you were to create the perfect Valentine's Day date during this time, like, what would your plan be? And would you have like any like relationship or like at least Valentine's Day advice for anyone out there trying to celebrate it during this time? Like, if you were to try it, that sense.
Honestly, what I would probably say, okay, what I know what I would do and what I like to do. So I can't speak to whether other people would do this. I like activity-based events. I would say a lot of places are closed, but if it was up to me, I would just try and pick a day where the weather is not too crazy, dress warm, and go out for like a walk. Maybe take some food, maybe hike somewhere, or take a drive to somewhere scenic and just like vibe over there. Maybe bring some music. I might bring my ukulele or something like that and just like have a good time in that sense. You know, I'm big on things like that. I actually think that means more when you do event type things and when you buy things for people, or maybe that speaks more to some people and how they are. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I've always doing things and actually moving around and like vibing that way has always meant more to me. And I feel like even initially, even if I could think of the last first date I was on, this is when I knew that I was gonna care very much about the girl, because um, uh, we were able to just vibe in a different way, you know, from that point on. So, and obviously it wasn't Valentine's, or maybe not obviously, it wasn't Valentine's Day then, but then that was how we were able to relate. So for me, it's no different if it's Valentine's Day or not. That's definitely something I still want to do. And maybe I make it a little more special with like, say, either some food related stuff or maybe a gift in some kind of way or something I know that she'd enjoy. But for the most part, I'm activity driven, I would say.
No doubt, no doubt. And you know, just to get to, like the last like two questions as well. I know that being from like Mississauga for now, like even though like a lot of people will actually like ask this for every Toronto artist, how do you feel about the Toronto like music scene like at the moment? And do you feel that there should be some changes on the direction of where the Toronto like Canadian music scene should go to or should go?
Um, if there's going to be any, okay, I'll answer the second question first. If I feel like there's going to be any changes, what I would like to see is, in my mind, the question I ask is, what seems to be the most vibrant music community if it's not Toronto, and what can we learn from them? And in my mind, that community I would say is in LA. And I like that, again, this is me outside looking in. So I'm sure there's stuff that I'm not seeing. But outside looking in, I love how there seems to be a very, very like a huge collaborative community where people can just go here, there, everywhere for one. Again, I'm not there, but it seems as if people are more, let me not say it, not accommodating is not the word, but like open to new acts and new ideas, and like, you know, people having shows here and then doing this and doing, there's like a lot more interconnection between different acts and different entertainers and stuff like that. I feel like in Toronto, at least the vibe I've got, and again, I don't live in the city, but sometimes it feels a little separate and distant. And this isn't even me hating, like this is just my observation, and it's not changing anything about the way I make music or anything like that. But I would love if I was able to go down and, or I'm here and there's this opportunity, or I'm here and I may be able to link up with this person or be in this studio and this and that. And that's there to some degree, but I feel like there's a lot of room for growth and a lot of scope for growth. And obviously we have to give thanks to the artists that brought and shined the light on Toronto and Canada in a wider way. From obviously Drake and The Weeknd to most who did the Super Bowl thing recently, to even like artists like Maestro and Cardinal, and you know, I could go on and name like a bunch, but yeah, that's something I would hope that just keeps growing from strength to strength, just more of a community in Toronto. I feel like that can change a lot of the way we do things, because we have a few little pockets, but in a wider city way, I would hope to see that. I'm sorry, you said the first question was.
Like, how do you feel about like the Toronto Canadian like music scene like at the moment?
Oh, okay. Mm, Actually, to be honest, I think we're doing good. I'm not gonna front. I mean, anything can always improve, but I when I turn on the radio, well, I don't really listen to radio, but if I was to turn it on, it wouldn't be very long until I heard of an artist from here. You know, if I go to YouTube and I look at top videos, it's not too long until I see artists from here doing things. I've seen Alicia Cara live. You know, The Weeknd is doing what he's doing. Drake is doing what he's doing. We have artists like Belly. We have Nav. Um, People might feel a way about Nav, but like, you know, all these guys are not only garnering attention. Look at where they're coming from, like just around the way. It's the kind of thing where I'm just so excited to be. Now that I'm in Canada, I'm so excited to just be here, and like I'm in places where these people reference. Like I've been on Western Road. Like I know when Drake references X, Y, and Z, I know what that is. I've been to this area. When The Weeknd talks about some things, I understand this. I know the feeling. I know the vibe. I know why the sound is what it is because I know Toronto. Like I've been around the area. I'm comfortable with this whole kind of thing. So that means a lot to me that that's even a reality. Obviously, like anything else, you want to see it improve and grow over time. And for me, I like it. I just want to take my part in it and see like how can I add my voice to what's going on right now, because I feel like I have something to say, and that's important to me that I'm able to really contribute in a meaningful manner. Uh, so to answer the question, people might feel a way about it in some kind of ways. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. But oh, and Daniel Caesar. Sorry, I feel so sick if I didn't mention him. So it's just I don't know. It's a golden era in a sense, but I don't want us to stop here. I want Toronto to fully take over the way like the States have for the last little bit. So let's see what we can do.
No doubt, no doubt. And so, what are your plans for this year in terms of like any like music, other creative projects, and so forth? I know that you've talked about like your single OSEP dropping soon, but with other creative projects and like just other ideas, like do you have any in mind? And like, do you have any final words you would like to say for any creative or any person out there pursuing their dreams?
So okay, I'll go first question first. For this year, I don't want to release a lot of songs this year. What I want to do ideally this year is release songs and then put a lot of stuff around them. And maybe the person that I feel like has inspired me in this way is maybe Michael Jackson, because he is an artist who every song or like every single was an event, a worldwide cultural event. Who doesn't remember Billy? Like I remember being alive when being alive. I remember being a kid when Billie Jean dropped, seeing the video, and no one had to tell me to practice the dance moves in my living room in Nigeria. You know, or I can name just so many Michael Jackson songs. I had his documentary, the Immortal one, where he's like in the statue pose. Like that really meant a lot to me as far as just what music could be. So even for this year, I'm like, I don't want to just be dropping songs and just leave them like, and then let them just sit there. What can I do with these tracks? How can I add meaning in a way that like adds value for people who are listening? How can I reward my listeners for even giving me their time? Because again, that's not something I feel like I just deserve off the top. Like I have to earn that. So how can I show that? I'm trying to do it as well as I can with the music, but that's just not enough. What else could I do with? And I have some ideas. Then I'm being vague on purpose because I want to see what I can really put together. But this year, this is going to be a big year for that. I'm putting time, energy, funds into this, and hopefully we can see some return. I'm sorry. And for your last question, you were asking what I would tell to someone that's chasing the dream in a sense.
Like, do you have any advice for any person out there or any creative pursuing their dreams?
Honestly, I would say, maybe okay. The biggest thing I'd say is I don't want to say some stuff like, "Oh, don't give up." It's not even that. No, I think the most important thing is to do things that you like. Do what you like and do what you would listen to or what you would watch. That should be your main motivation. At least it is for me. I'm not trying to make music that I'm not listening to. And that usually tells me when I've done something that, oh, I really rock with this, or I don't. It's as simple as that. That should be your North Star as far as it should be two things. one, would I myself play this, listen to this, bump this, whatever I'm doing? And does it stack up to the people that I will call my heroes, icons, the legends, this, that, and the third? And then you should be trying to bridge that gap over time just as best as you can. And that would be one thing. The next thing I'd say is try and build your tribe, your community. And it doesn't have to be other music artists, just people who have the same similar mental way, like this guy or this girl is driven to do what they want to do. And it's the saying, as the saying goes, like iron sharpens iron in that kind of way. So, try to get your head on straight for sure, but also try to surround yourself with people who will push you and inspire you to be the best that you can be. Because I definitely have a few people like that in my circle right now, and I can see the difference from now to like a few years back. It's night and day.
No doubt, no doubt.